The following side lengths of a triangle form a right triangle, true or false? So if something is a right triangle, meaning it has a right angle, that means that these two legs, is what we call them, that make the right angle, those add. So if I take one leg, square that value, plus the other leg and square that value, that equals the length of what we call the hypotenuse squared. So instead of writing that out over and over, leg, hypotenuse, we always call the hypotenuse C. And then the legs, it doesn't matter because we're adding. One is A, one is B. And that is the Pythagorean theorem. So if this is true, then it's a right triangle. If it's false, it's not. So the other thing we need to know is the hypotenuse, or C, is always the longest side, every time. So we have 2, 9, and the square root of 85. Which one's the longest? If you don't know your square roots, use a calculator. Square root of 85 is 9.2. So that is our C value, and the other ones are A and B. So then we're just going to plug them in. 2 squared plus 9 squared equals the square root of 85 squared. So let's type that in our calculator and see what we get. 2 squared plus 9 squared is 85. And then a square and a square root cancel. Remember, they're opposites. So that's just 85. So because we get the same value on the left that we do on the right, that means that it is a right triangle. If those two numbers were different, it'd be false. So we have another example. Let's see if this works out. So remember, C is our longest side. So we have 5, 10. And then again, if you're not sure, we have 5 square roots of 5, which is 11 point something. So this is our C, that can be B, that can be A. So 5 squared plus 10 squared equals 5 square roots of 5 squared. So I'm going to type it in. 5 squared plus 10 squared is 125, and then 5 square roots of 5 squared is 125 as well. So we keep getting true answers. Sorry, I was hoping to get a false. Because these are the same on the right and left, it's true. Okay, let's look at this. So this is just like what we did in the last section. Some of these are thrown in here, so I'm going to do another example of it. It's similar triangles. So G to I is 12. H to I is 20. And we want to calculate the value of GH. So what do you notice? We just have one right triangle, right? We're not going to use the other ones. So the legs are our A and B, and the hypotenuse across from the right angle is C. So I have 12 squared plus 20 squared equals x squared. And now we're going to solve for x. So let's put this in our calculator. 12 squared plus 20 squared is 544. So I don't want x squared, I want x. So to get rid of the square, we take the square root of both sides. Now we just have x. And then the square root of 544 is 23.2. Calculate the area of the isosceles triangle if A is 16 and B is 26. So, let's see. area of a triangle. Remember? 1/2 times the base times the height. So we know the base is 16. Oops, I was actually going to write it there. We need to find the height. So that is, if we drop down this line, this would be the height, which we're not given. But when you drop a line from the top of a triangle to the bottom, you make a right angle. So I have a right triangle. I'm trying to find H. I know 26, and we actually know this length. Because this is an isosceles triangle, we would split this in half. So if the total is 16, we would have 2 equal parts of 8. So this is 8. So now we're set up to do Pythagorean theorem. Remember, C is always across from the right angle. And then A and B are the legs. So I would have A squared plus 8 squared equals 26 squared. And now we have to solve for A, or that's actually H. Right? So I'm going to keep 8 squared as it is and subtract it. That leaves me with H squared equals, now I will calculate. 26 squared minus 8 squared is 612. I don't want H squared, I want H. So I'm going to square root both sides. So H is square root of 612, which is 24.74 rounded. And that's not our answer. That's what goes here for H, right? So my area is 1/2 times 16 times 24.74. 1/2 times the base times the height, which is 197.92 or 91 because we rounded right here. So every time you round, you get a little bit off what you started with. Calculate the length of the unknown side. So A and B, they give us. We're trying to find, oops, 295. We're trying to find C, the one across from the right angle. So A squared plus B squared equals C squared. 5 squared plus the square root of 295 squared equals C squared. So let's calculate that. 5 squared plus the square root of 295 squared is 320. And then we'll take the square root of both sides. So C equals 17.89. Notice how that's not an answer, but look at how our answers look. Okay, it could be this or this. So we need to simplify a radical. So we did this in quarter 1, but we'll go through it again. We want to factor 320. So 320 is 4 times 80. 80 is 4 times 20. 20 is 4 times 5. Are you like, why is she choosing 4? I'm choosing 4 because I'm going to rewrite 320. 320 is really 4 times 4 times 5, right? I chose 4 because I know what the square root of 4 is. The square root of 4 is 2. So I can split this up into the square root of 4 times the square root of 4 times the square root of 4 times the square root of 5. And I know the square root of 4 is 2 times 2 times 2, but I don't know what the square root of 5 is, so I'm going to leave that. So So 2 times 2 times 2 is 8, and then the square root of 5 has to stay. So it's this one.